A very unfortunate incident happened here in the Sarasota County Jail. A drug smuggling ring was up on one of the upper floors of the county jail, and they chipped away from their cell window and made a hole big enough to put a fishing line down to the street. And this jail happens to be off of a main street. And they were fishing contraband up from someone sending contraband from the street to the jail. I know that it's a black eye on the security measures, and management has to be unhappy, but hey, let this be an eye-opener to change things now. Fix things now. These inmates, these 6 inmates were involved in the ring, and what they did, they took cord from their headphone cords, and tied them all together to the end of a broomstick or a broom handle they had obtained, and fished the line out of this cell right here. And I drew a circle and an arrow on the window to show you where the hole was. That went down to the street, and crack cocaine was brought in, cell phones were brought in, vaping pens were brought in. Luckily, they found the 6 crack cocaine rocks. However, we don't know how many got in, because this happened over a period of days. Now, to make matters even worse, the jail has a camera that aims out right on these windows, right? So this is being filmed, and the inmates were using towels and bed sheets to obscure as best they could what they were doing. However, the video does show that on one day from noon to 2 p.m. they were fishing for contraband. On another day from 3 to 3:20 p.m. fishing for contraband. And yet on another day from 2 p.m. to 2:45 fishing for contraband. On video, off of a main street. Okay, so these are some huge issues that the jail has to look into as far as security. Okay, we don't want a Monday morning quarterback, but hey, facts are facts. What's happened here? Let's talk about it. Things that should be done. Number one, if that camera is not monitored constantly, then at least have a set time period to check this camera. If you have a camera, use it. Find out what's being recorded on that camera. Not 4 or 5 days later, after all these things have happened. Why is it not being checked hourly? Maybe 4 times a day? Who knows? I don't know if it should be monitored or what their policy and procedure has on that. But obviously, there's a good camera that works perfectly fine, not being utilized properly. What's next? Well, number 2, cell checks. Now, it does say in the article that the prison system is now conducting checks of all windows in the jail, making sure they're secure, etc., etc. Well, yes, that's good and it needs to be done. But why is it not being done on a regular basis? If I have to count every day, the inmates have to be counted several times a day. When I'm counting the inmates, okay, that's one thing, but why am I not going by and doing some security checks of the cells as well? Am I checking the cells to see if towels aren't hung up in the windows? Am I checking the cells for cleanliness? Am I looking at every window when I check the cell to see if it's okay? How long have they been chipping away at that cell window? It even states that on camera they were spotted chipping away at the window. I'm probably trying to make it a little bit bigger to get items through there when they started fishing with this fishing line. Also, the contraband in their cells. They had a broom handle. They had a whole bunch of headphone cords tied together, as you can see in this picture. So, you don't want to say everybody, but how many shifts have gone through that E-block, as they say it say it occurred in E Block, and I'm just going to stick with E Block. I don't know what's happening in the rest of the jail, but obviously some attention needs to be given to security checks. But just E Block alone, how many shifts over those days have gone through and not found that window, not found that hole in that window? It's amazing, isn't it? We're going to have to be more vigilant in our security checks. If we get complacent, and I'm going to use complacency here as a word that I feel is the way to describe what is happening at this jail. In E Block, obviously, officers became complacent. They weren't checking for contraband. They weren't checking the windows. They weren't checking the cells. I mean, how could you be checking the cells if all this is going on? Hopefully that changes. Complacency kills, folks. Complacency gets us in trouble. We don't know if any weapons got in. They don't know if any weapons got in. There's been no word of weapons. There's been no word of any weapons found. But a small caliber weapon, knives, all kinds of things like this could be smuggled up through that hole. A major shakedown needs to take place. Number one, bring in the laundry carts. Put them in the center of the dorm or the pod. Tell all inmates you have 10 minutes. We'll to throw everything in there, and you will not be disciplined for anything we have in the laundry carts. Now you take all that contraband out. There's going to be contraband thrown in there, folks, and you'll get all that contraband out. Now remove all the inmates, put them out in the hallway, put them on the wall, search them. Oh, don't tell me now that's too much work. Don't tell me now we're short-staffed. We have to get the people to do this. You could have weapons now in the jail. And while the inmates are out, have officers go in and search every cell, especially in that E Block, but you might need to do this as an overall task. Yes, it'll take time. Yes, you may have to pay a little overtime, but is it worth it to save an officer's life or an inmate's life in case a weapon got into that jail? You're darn right it's worth it. You're going to have to dish out some overtime. Let's get some shakedowns going. Now, whatever contraband you find in these cells that the inmates did not voluntarily put in that laundry cart, now, if it's a criminal contraband, we can look into criminal charges. It could be a little hard to get a criminal charge, but send it to your state attorney and see. If 3 inmates occupy this cell and you find a weapon, we're going to interview them, we're going to read them their rights, and we're going to see if one of them wants to give it up. And lots of times they do. You know, it's how hard we work to get to the bottom of what's really going on. Which inmate does not want to serve time for something they didn't bring in? That was my cellmate. He brought that weapon in. You know, who knows? But you have to work at it, folks. You have to put some hard work into it, because that's the safety and security of the jail. We need to train on complacency. We need to make sure our supervisors are getting up out of their chairs, and our supervisors are going around making sure that our officers are not just sitting in their chair all shift doing nothing. I don't mean to sound bad about it, but this is serious stuff, folks. That's some pretty blatant way to bring contraband in. If they had no fear of bringing the contraband up that way, then they must know something from watching the officers and learning about the complacency that the officers have gotten into. They know us better than you know yourself sometimes by watching us. And what I mean by they know you better than you know yourself, they know your actions. They know how you're going to do it. Maybe they just picked a certain shift to do this on. I don't know. But they watch you very closely. Complacency kills. Don't become complacent. And then once these shakedowns are all over, and we've done our job getting out as much contraband as we can possibly find, or we feel we've done that, now let's get our officers on track. Routine and then change that routine and do surprise cell searches and surprise cell checks. It's got to be done. Unless you want to be on the news. This has been on the news the last 2 nights, this drug smuggling ring with these 6 inmates. Because it is a little bizarre because of the way it was done, right on the main street coming right. No, you know, a citizen could be walking down the street and see this line come down. And I bet you over this 4 or 5 day period of drug smuggling, you had some citizens see somebody tie something to the end and see this line go up. I would be like, man, I better call the jail and tell them they got some problems going on out here. Anyway, it's embarrassing, but now you take action and you fix it, right? That's the way you do it. Show the public you're going to fix it and show them we're going to do our job correctly. Don't fall into this kind of media attention, folks. Jail administrators, jail supervisors, got to get out there, got to check, got to see what's going on, got to train, and you have to watch for officers falling and becoming complacent. Okay? Thank you very much. Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please stay safe. Thank you.